Hello everyone, I am the Lore Explorer and this is Outer Wilds, the open world exploration game focusing on the mystery of an ancient race of aliens called the Nomai. I thought it would be nice to dedicate a video to the timeline of the Nomai and some of the major events that happened to them. This video will consist entirely of spoilers, so if you haven't played the game already yourself, I suggest clicking off the video now. The Nomai were originally a nomadic species, comprised of many separate clans of Nomai, all out independently exploring the universe. Every 10 years, all of the Nomai clans came together at something they called the Festival. There, they would share all of the discoveries they've made in the last decade. This was very important to the Nomai, as the core philosophy of the Nomai was to seek out the unknown and to observe them to understand them. On the way to this event, the clan leader Eskel was shown something even more exciting than the festival. Their vessel received a very unique signal that looks eerily like an eye, and, if the readings were right, it's older than the universe itself. Eskel immediately orders his crew to warp the vessel to the source of this signal. Felix, the Nomai in charge of communications, asks for a second to send a message to inform the other Nomai clans where they are going. But Eskel realizes how significant this signal is. Knowing it may disappear just as quickly as it showed up, they didn't spare the time for the message. Though Eskel was right about the significance, that choice proved to be a bad one. The Nomai fell into a trap, the trap of Dark Bramble. The mysterious signal they received bounced through Dark Bramble in its many dimensions, so when the Nomai followed it, they found themselves inside a multi-dimensional maze. The vines on Dark Bramble sprang to action, jumping at the vessel and started to tear it apart. The Nomai on board quickly found themselves inside of a dying vessel, with instruments failing one by one. Everyone on board rushed to the emergency escape ships. But Dark Bramble had no intentions of letting the Nomai leave. As the third escape ship launched, the vessel succumbed to the damage done by Bramble's branches. This meant the Nomai on Escape Pod 4 were stuck deep inside Dark Bramble's maze. The Nomai on Escape Ship 3 weren't so lucky either. Even on their flight out of Dark Bramble, the vines were not so keen on letting them go. The thrusters on Escape Pod 3 were damaged, leaving the Nomai stranded in whatever node they were stuck in. Eskel was amongst this group, and tried to lead them back to the vessel safely, since all of the oxygen was leaking from the escape pod. But unfortunately, the Nomai again fell victim to the signal duplication phenomenon present in Dark Bramble. We find these Nomai surrounding a seed, emitting the vessel's signal, but the opening was too small for the Nomai to enter or have came through. Though, even if they made it back to the vessel, they still would have succumbed to the lack of oxygen present on Bramble, as we find even skeletons here. The other two escape pods managed to escape Dark Bramble and crash-landed on separate planets. This was the welcoming gift the Nomai received from their new home. Half of Eskel's clan perished in their maiden voyage to the Outer Wild solar system. The vessel, destroyed, didn't just mean the Nomai lost their home. It also housed all of their technology as well. The Nomai survived would have to start from scratch. The Nomai on Escape Ship 1 found themselves on Brittle Hollow, while the second escape ship wound up on Ember Twin. Trapped on separate planets, the two groups of Nomai were left with one option: survive. They weren't able to communicate with each other, so their respective groups were on their own, and they were up to the task. Both groups of Nomai found a good location to construct settlements. The Nomai on Ember Twin chose the site of the Sunless City out of necessity. It was the only cave system large enough to house them. The Nomai on Brittle Hollow had a few more options, but they knew ultimately they needed to harness the power of the black hole below. To start out with, though, they were only able to construct the temporary city. See, the surface of Brittle Hollow was being bombarded by its moon with lava rocks. The Nomai had a rough time traversing the planet with this happening. But after a short time in the temporary city, the Nomai discovered something amazing. The crust of Brittle Hollow had intrinsic gravitational properties. The Nomai were able to take advantage of this and invent gravity crystals. With the crystals, they were able to construct a giant pathway underneath Brittle Hollow's surface that was able to take them to the most stable location on the planet, just under its north pole. With the gravity crystals, the Nomai constructed an enormous vertical city that used the power of the black hole below. Though all of the technology on the vessel was lost, the Nomai still carried that knowledge with them. They were able to make a simpler version of the advanced warp core used to power their old vessel. Their craftiness turned out to be invaluable. They combined the gravity crystals and warp cores to recreate space travel. A ship is built along with a giant gravity cannon designed to launch the ship at great speeds. The ship would again use gravity crystals to land itself when prompted at another planet. The birth of the Nomai shuttle is an important step in the Nomai timeline. Without them, who knows if the two separate groups of Nomai would ever have met again. But soon after reinvention of spaceflight, they were able to reunite with each other. If that never happened, we basically just wouldn't have a game. From here, nothing is exactly set in stone, as a lot happens around the same time. This would have been a hell of a lot easier if the Nomai just dated their buildings. But after the Nomai reunited, their collective focus quickly shifted to the mysterious moon that seems to disappear. The Nomai noticed pretty quickly it actually moves to other planets when not being observed, but sometimes it does just seem to disappear completely. The Nomai very much want to land on this mysterious moon, and to do so, they will need to develop a system that can track this teleportation. Apparently, Chert and Nomai agree. The pole of Ember Twin is the best place for such astronomical observations. They built a quantum moon locator on the south pole of Ember Twin. I'd even bet they tried to land at this point, but more study of the strange moon would be needed before that could happen. As the studies were taking place for the moon, the Nomai in the hanging city were having a bit of a problem. The city planner forgot to add guardrails and, there's a black hole just kicking it down there? This definitely presents an issue for them. Every now and then a Nomai slips and falls through the black hole below. They then get teleported across the solar system into deep space just outside of the white hole. The Nomai likely had to keep flying out there to rescue their friends. They decided to construct a building that would rescue the Nomai for them. When a Nomai falls through the black hole, they'll arrive outside the white hole, just in front of a building designed to teleport them back to Brittle Hollow. They named this building the White Hole Station. Instead of, just building railings, these bros decided to make a whole rotating teleporter building in space. You just gotta love it. By now, the study of the quantum moon had been completed. A few towers are constructed with the purpose of passing on that knowledge to other Nomai. The Tower of Quantum Trials on Giant's Deep, and the Tower of Quantum Knowledge on Brittle Hollow. The Quantum Shrine on the Quantum Moon was likely constructed at this time as well. So they discovered that the moon sometimes orbits the eye of the universe. Though you can't use this moon to reach the eye, this makes the Nomai think the eye is in a distant orbit around their very own solar system. This makes the Nomai turn their attention back to the reason they came to this solar system in the first place. An eye signal locator was constructed on Brittle Hollow's North Pole, but this one was pretty unique. After a failed attempt on the Outer Rock, the Nomai really wanted to make this one work, so this locator could lock onto multiple planets at once, and accurately depict all of them in their orbits. But when they tried to target the eye, the locator malfunctioned and showed them every possible location the eye could be in simultaneously. The Nomai were sort of at a loss for what to do next, but while all of this was happening, other Nomai were studying something that may just help. A few Nomai on another part of Brittle Hollow noticed that Nomai using the White Hole Station were arriving at Brittle Hollow before they left the White Hole Station. Pye, Poke, and Clary decided to go to the White Hole Station to ensure the readings were correct. They did a few tests that backed up their initial observation, so they moved their studies to the Ember Twins' High Energy Lab. There, they recreated an isolated version of the warp cores they used to teleport. They started by ensuring the results they got were being consistent. Some of the Nomai remained skeptical, so a test was devised to try and make the effect visible to the naked eye. They would use all the power of the Sunless City to try and increase the negative time interval. This increased the effect so much, no one could remain skeptical as they could see it with their own eyes. The Nomai just essentially discovered time travel. That's the last piece the Nomai needed to visually search for the eye of the universe. In theory. In practice, they needed multiple buildings constructed, some new advanced technologies, a probe to send out to look for the eye, and a giant orbital cannon to launch it from. So all of the Nomai turned their attention to what they called the Ash Twin Project, a myriad of new buildings and advanced technology. The Nomai started by building warp towers connecting Ash Twin to all of the other planets, allowing quick travel as well as allowing them to deliver vital material as quickly as possible. On Giant's Deep, work on a device allowing memories to be stored and sent back in time began. A Nomai named Phlox got to work carving the statues to do the job. On another island, construction of the orbital probe cannon took place. They probably built a sun station here as well, which planned to blow up the sun as a power source for the whole thing. On Brittle Hollow, a new task was given to the Black Hole Forge. Their current warp cores weren't able to withstand the power needed for the memory transfer, so the Nomai Poke took on the monumental task of recreating her mentor's old technology. This task weighed heavy on her, but she knew she had the support of her clan behind her. On Ash Twin, a special chamber was needed to house all the important components of the Ash Twin project. These parts needed to survive the supernova for long enough to do what they had to do. To achieve this, they had to excavate the core of the Ash Twin. Then, they would encase it in a dense material mined on Timber Hearth. On Dark Bramble, nothing happened because that place is scary. Eventually, all of these projects came together one by one, and the Ash Twin project, in all of its confusing glory, was ready to test. But when the Nomai fired the sun station, it did not have the intended effect. The sun barely responded to the attempt at making it go supernova. By now, the Ash Twin project is the majority of the Nomai society. With it having failed, the Nomai are at a loss for what to do. They can't even begin to think of another way to produce the power needed for the Ash Twin project. Most of their morale was gone. People began questioning this search for the eye. Why waste all of our resources when we could be trying to recreate the vessel and just leave this place? But out of nowhere, a new mystery arrives in the solar system. An interstellar comet comes out of nowhere. The curious Nomai couldn't help but be captivated by this new arrival. Poke, Pi, and Clary board a Nomai shuttle on Ash Twin and set out to this stellar interloper. The three Nomai landed on the tail end of the comet, which left the shuttle at risk of freezing. Clary offered to stay behind to prevent this from happening. Then they saw it. The shuttle's equipment is picking up a strange energy reading coming from underneath the surface. But Pi and Poke aren't put off. If anything, that makes them even more interested in the mystery that's playing out in front of them. The two Nomai found a crack in the surface of the ice, allowing them to enter the interior of the comet. They set up a few plants on the inside of the interloper to refill their oxygen. Now inside the comet, they figured they should take more energy readings. Poke realizes whatever is giving out this energy may be dangerous. The two of them call Clary to give her an update. Their signal will likely be lost if they go any further, so don't worry if you can't get a hold of us. We will be right back. And off they went, sliding down the slopes of ice, likely brought back good memories of unadulterated fun. But this was a serious mission. The two Nomai found a crevice leading to the core of the interloper. When they enter, they are met with something odd. The source of the energy readings are coming from some spherical stone casing, or rather, what's inside it. Some strange form of matter, and to top it off, the casing is under tons of pressure, and the pressure is rising as they approach the sun. As soon as they saw this encasement, both Nomai realized not only are they in danger, the entire solar system is threatened right now. Pi, thinking quickly, bravely offers to stay behind as Poke runs to warn the other Nomai. Every second and every bit of information could help the Nomai survive this. Poke initially resists, but she ends up leaving her friend behind. But tragically, she doesn't make it far. The encasement ruptures, and the exotic matter held within coated the solar system. With no warning, every Nomai fell dead where they stood. Poke made it about 15 feet before she died. If there is any silver lining, they likely died instantly. We find some still sleeping in their weirdly stone beds. Thinking back on the Nomai's timeline in our solar system is sad. They had pretty bad luck from the start. But when you think about it, it's really a good life lesson. No matter how many hardships the universe throws at you, it's always worth it to keep fighting for your dreams. Because even this isn't the end of the Nomai story. During Poke, Pie, and Clary's flight to the Interloper, another shuttle flight was happening. A Nomai named Solanum flew to the Quantum Moon at this time as well. But really, that's a whole nother video, which I've actually already made. If you're interested in Solanum's journey and seeing what the Nomai accomplished through perseverance, check out the video here. So you guys may have noticed a new intro here on the channel. An awesome subscriber made a few pieces of fan art. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Alexi Ribel. It was very nice of you, and I think they were very well done. But for now, this is the Lore Explorer diving deep into the story, so you don't have to. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and though it is a bit sad, it's something that I think really does deserve covered and thought about, because the Nomai really did put a lot of effort into what they achieved, and it came out worth it. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.